Okay, so good afternoon again. Bago tayo magsimula, kumusta naman kayong pito? Ang dami natin, ang dami niyo. Kumusta naman kayo? Limutan ko kayong kumustahin kanina. Miss Yambao, kumusta ka naman?
Sir.
Kumusta naman sa inyo dyan? Kumusta? Wala namang may sakit. Sana wala.
Sir, kakagaling ko lang, sir.
Ay, at least, di ba? At least maganda yan, gumaling ka na. Okay, so...
Opo.
Ikaw yung nagkasakit dati, pero kailangan ko naka-record to. Pero anyway, cut ko na lang siya.
Hindi po ata ako yun, sir.
Hindi ba ikaw yun? Akala ko ikaw yun. Anyway, sige. So, ayun, at least okay ka naman. Yung iba, kumusta? Maayos naman kayo dyan?
Okay naman po, sir.
Ayun. Buti naman. So, ako medyo okay naman. Nakakatakot nga minsan magkaroon ka lang ng konting sakit sa lalamunan. Nakakapraning na. Pero at least okay naman. Stay healthy lang tayo lagi. Anyway, let's okay, I think you can see my presentation already, guys. Right?
Yes po.
Kita nyo? Okay, so ang lesson natin for today is definite integral. So after all those types of or techniques of taking the integrals, ang next nating topic is definite integral. So pag sinabi nating definite integral, we have the following definition. Okay, so if we have capital F prime of x to be equal to f of x, then the integral from a to b of small f of x dx will just be capital F of b minus capital F of a. So if this integral exists, okay, we call this the fundamental theorem of calculus. In other words, to get the definite integral, guys, all we have to do is to find the integral first. That's why we discussed first how to find the integral before, or the indefinite integral. Kaya siya tinawag na indefinite kasi walang boundaries. Ngayon, notice we already have the bounds A and B. Ito na yung kaya siya naging definite na. Pag definite, fixed na, so ibig sabihin may boundaries na. So to get the definite integral from of small f of x dx from a to b, all we have to do is to get the integral of small f of x, which is capital F, and then afterwards we just substitute the upper, which is f of b, minus the lower bound, which is small a, and substitute that to the integral of your small f. Okay? So notice, since we are substituting values of the lower and upper values here, so technically if a and b are real numbers, the result will also be a real number, if this exists, of course. Okay? So basically, to get the definite integral, all we have to do again is to just get the integral, and then afterwards we substitute upper minus the lower. Okay? Is that clear, guys? Malinaw po ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let us try to have some examples on this. But before we have some examples, let me have the following properties first. Okay, so these are properties that are quite useful. So first is, notice that the integral of, if the lower and upper bounds is the same, it will turn out to be 0. Kasi syempre, it will be f of a minus f of a, it will turn out to be 0. Malinaw naman yan, di ba? So if the boundaries or the lower and the upper bounds will turn out to be the same, it's just simply 0. Okay, next. If we exchange the lower and upper, notice it will just be the negative of each other. Kasi if we replace the lower and then upper bounds or upper limits, so mangyayari, we just have to negate the integral. Okay, so pag pinagpalit natin yung lower and upper bounds natin. Okay, next is, this just looks like a triangle, ang tawag nito? Triangle inequality, sort of. Anyway, so if we have an a to b and then plus b to c, pwede nating idiretso from a to c. That would just give us the same integral. Okay, so kunwari, integral from 1 to 2 and then plus integral from 1 to, say, from 2 to 3, you can actually get that you can just simply say that it's just the integral from 1 to 3 of the same integral. Okay, malinaw po. So, parang pwede nating ituloy-tuloy. Parang pwede nating hati-hatiin. And then, you just have to do the same. Pwede nyo rin gamitin ito, kunwari, if I have the integral from 1 to 5, and then you are given integral from 1 to 5, and then the integral from 2 to 5, you can actually get integral from 1 to 2 later on. You just have to perform or just have to treat this as a simple equation. Okay? So, mga properties, I hope you can actually use that later. Question for this, guys? Any question?
Okay na po.
Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, let's have nangyari dito. Sorry, mali yung aking presentation. Let me just show you this. Okay, but before that, let me ayusin ko muna tong transition natin at bakit bigla siyang nawala. Okay, so namali yung transition para maganda yung presentation natin. Okay, so let's have an example. Are you ready, guys? Hello, are you still there? Hello, are you still there?
Yes po.
Okay, so let's have an example. Okay, medyo haba-haba pala to. Okay. Anyway, the length of the discussion is just merely on the simplification part, pero I hope we can. Okay, let's have this one. Okay. May humabol pa. Okay, so let's have the first example. Okay. Simple muna tayong example, guys. So let's have this first simple example. Sorry about that. Okay, so can you see this, guys?
Apo.
Okay, so how do we get the integral of 4x cubed plus 3x squared minus 1 dx from 0 to 1? So, ang alam natin dati, wala yung 0 to 1 na to, di ba? So, we can easily get the integral of that. So, that is just this, di ba? That will just be 4x cubed by 4x to the 4 over 4 plus 3x to the 3 over 3 minus the integral of 1, which is x. Okay, so notice dito, hindi na natin kailangan ilagay yung c kasi later on, pag sinubstitute kasi natin, mamaminus lang sa later on. So, parang dagdag trabaho lang yon. So, hindi na natin kailangan ilagay yung plus constancy dito. And then, just place here a bracket to indicate that we will substitute the upper minus the lower later on, which is this. Okay, so if I try to simplify, I have that. And then, substituting the upper. So, f at 2, substitute lang natin yung 2 muna dito. So, that would be x to the 4. That would be 2 to the 4. Ito namang x cube magiging 2 cube, and then yung minus x magiging minus 2. And then minus, take note I placed a parenthesis here, guys. Take note because I have to subtract the whole thing when substituted at x equals 1. So pinaltan ko lang ulit yung x ng 1. So ito siya. And then simplifying this, so we have x, the integral will turn out to be 21. Okay, malinaw po ba?
Apo.
Okay, question so far? Question?
Wala po.
Wala.
Sir, isa pa?
Oh, sige, wait lang. Okay. So, malinaw ba kami tanong? Basta tandaan yung tandaan yung process after taking the integral. Ang gagawin natin ay uh, i-substitute lang natin yung ating upper minus lower. Okay, so ganun pa rin naman. So the same process of doing the integral before. Okay. And then ang mangyayari lang dito is that after getting the integral, we substitute. Okay, so yun na lang yung medyo matagal yung pag-substitute. Lalo na pag yung isi-simplify natin ay medyo makulit. Okay. So let's have another one na medyo makulit na sinasabi ko. Okay, so let's have another one. Kumari ito. So how do we get the integral here? So the same process. So notice I first rewrite this 2 over x cubed as 2x to the negative 3. So, di ba pag sa algebra natin, pag tinaas, kita ng ating. So simply use power formula again. So add 1, di ba? Okay, so malinaw to. So 2x to the negative 2. And then this is negative 1, so that would be ln of absolute value of x. And then ito ulit, power formula ulit. Let me simplify it, it will turn out to be this. Okay? And then simplifying this further, we can divide this, so it will just turn out to be negative 1 over x squared plus 3 ln of absolute value of x. And then ito, I just simplify this fraction. So I have 3x to the 5 over 3 all over 5. And then we will evaluate this now from negative 1 to 2. Question so far before we proceed? Malinaw? Hello? Saan po ba kayo?
Sir, ba't mo nagkaroon ng LN?
Malinaw po ba?
Saan po galing, sir?
Hello? Kapag when the exponent is negative 1, di ba, ln yung magiging integral nun. Nagkakaroon lang tayo ng plus 1 kapag yung ating exponent ay hindi negative 1. Di ba yun yung power formula natin?
Okay po.
Naalala yan? Okay, so kapag hindi negative 1 yung ating exponent, we just add 1 and then place the new exponent sa denominator, di ba? Pero kapag kapag ang exponent natin ay negative 1, ang integral will be ln of absolute value of that base. Okay? Okay now, so let us now try to substitute. So substituting it will be this, right? So I just substitute first x equals 2. Okay? So ito yung una, x equals 2. So pinunta ko lahat ng x ng 2. And then yung pangalawa naman ay subtracted when x is negative 1 naman. So pinunta ko lang ng negative 1. Okay, so 1 over 2 squared is just 1/4 ln of 2. Ito naman ay, I extracted the perfect power here. So I removed 2, so I multiplied it to 3. Okay, ito naman, I just simplify. So negative 1 squared is positive 1. Ito naman, absolute value of 1 is 1. And then ito, negative 1 raised to an odd power is actually negative. Kaya naging negative 3 na lang ito. Okay? Malinaw po ito?
Sige po, sir.
Hello? Malinaw?
Apo.
Hello po. Okay, so pwede na tayo mag-proceed. Simplify pa natin further. So ito, naging 6. So 3 times, so naging 6. Yun lang ang ginawa ko dito going to this next step. Ln of 1 is 0, so I just remove this. And then negative times negative, so this becomes positive. Negative 1 over 1 is negative 1. Okay, going further. So let's simplify this. I just copied this from the previous slide. So sinimplify ko na lang, pinagsama-sama ko tong may mga fraction na to. So 3 ln 2, ito pinagsama ko lang. By the way, this becomes negative 1 to kanina, di ba? Negative of negative 1 kaya naging positive 1. Ito naman negative 1/3. Dati positive 1/3 siya. Balikan natin para makita nyo, di ba? So negative of negative kaya negative 1 ay naging positive, ito naging negative 1/3. Ay negative 3/5 siya. Okay? So pinagsama, inilipat ko lang doon para ito ang sisimplify natin. Okay, LCD ulit para pinakita ko na rin LCD. So LCD is 20, so we have this. So this will just be negative positive. So that's it. Question? Question po. Malinaw? Hello?
Okay po.
Are you there yet? Okay. So, ayun. So ito, yung unang dalawang example natin is about just simply doing the integrals, di ba? As, parang yung usual yung mga simple integrals lang. Paano naman ngayon kapag meron na tayong shucks. Okay, yung aking wait lang guys, nag-hang yung aking PowerPoint. Let me just stop the sharing first. Okay. Medyo nag-hang yung aking PowerPoint eh. Okay, so the next example naman is what if we proceed now with if we do tawag nito substitution method naman, may substitution method. Kanina direct lang yung pagkuha natin ng integrals. Ngayon naman paano kapag ginamitan natin ng substitution method. Okay? Okay, so let's have this. Sub example number 3. Okay, so are you ready guys?
Opo, sir.
Okay, so let's have the next example. Okay, so let me present that again. Okay, so how are we going now to get the integral of this? So unlike kanina, medyo direct lang yung pagkuha natin ng integral. Ngayon ito, hindi na tayo pwedeng dumiretso lang na pagkuha ng integral. So we have to perform a different method. We call it the substitution method. So let's recall substitution method. But I think if I'm not mistaken, we're finished with this. Itong example na to. Nagdagan na lang natin ng... Anyway. So how do we perform substitution method again? So if we let u to be the base, 3x minus 1, and then we get the derivative. So remember this. So du over 3 will be equal to dx. Now, ang may dagdag lang sa atin dito kasi pag pinalitan kasi natin ito ng u, hindi naman natin pwedeng equate siya na gagamitin pa rin natin yung lower and upper bound natin na 1 and 2. So we now have to replace that with the corresponding value of u. Okay, so kasi yung 1 na to ay para sa x. So when x is 1, ano yung magiging value ng u? So substitute lang natin dito para makuha natin yung value ng u. So when x is 2, for example, 3 times 2 minus 1 would be 5. So when x is 2, ang corresponding value ng u niyan will be 5. And then when x is 1, the corresponding value naman yan will be 2. So ang mangyayari, instead of 1 and 2, ang magiging bagong lower and upper bounds natin will be 2 and 5 respectively. So, and then 3x minus 1 is u, so papalitan natin ito ng u, and then dx papalitan natin ng du over 3. So, magiging ganito siya. Okay, so malinaw po. So, yung 3x minus 1, pinalitan ko ng u, dx, pinalitan natin ng du over 3. Yung 1, pinalitan natin ng 2 kasi dito, and then yung 5, ay yung 2, pinalitan natin ng 5. Okay, malinaw po. Hello?
Opo.
Nandyan pa ba kayo? Gising pa? Okay, sa malinaw naman? Ano, malinaw? Hello? Kung may tanong, huwag kayo mahiya, guys. Pwede naman kayo magtanong.
Sir, medyo naglalag po.
Naglalag. Hindi naman kayo naglalag. Baka sa internet nyo. May naman na internet nyo. May tanong po ba bakit naging ganito yung ating integral ngayon? Malinaw naman. Baka isipin natin yung 'di ba dito sa integral natin from 1 to 2 na to. Baka itong 2 na to mapunta lang doon, hindi ha. Nagkataon po na yun ay parehas na 2. Pero magkaiba po yun. Galing po yun sa dito sa pagkuha natin ng value ng u. Okay? So when x is 1, sinabstitute natin dun sa ating transformation na 3x minus 1, sinabstitute natin sa x, nakuha natin na yung u ay 2, kaya naging 2 itong nasa baba. Hindi galing yun dun ha. Okay? Now, ito, we can now easily get the integral of this. But before that, pwede natin ilabas muna yung constant. Okay? And then u to the n na lang to, di ba? Integral ng u to the n ay n plus 1 over n plus 1. So magiging u to the 11 over 11 na siya. Now, evaluated from 2 to 5. Ilabas mo natin itong constant para pag nag-substitute tayo, simple na lang. So substitute natin when u is 5 and then when u is 2. Okay? So you can leave that as is or you can actually simplify it further. Then siguro gamitan nyo na lang ng calculator. Okay? Question?
Wala po, sir.
Okay, wala. So let's have the next example. Pa ba? One more?
Opo, sir. Sama po.
Okay, so one more. So very similar to this. Okay, so paano naman kapag ganito? So how do we get the integral of this? As is, so we now also proceed with the substitution method. Okay, so how do we do that? So again, if we let u to be 4x cubed minus 1, if we get the derivative, that will turn out to be 12x squared. So we can actually have x squared dx here. So we solve for dx ay x squared dx. So x squared dx is 12 du over 12. Okay. Now, same thing, we have to replace our lower and upper bounds. So, ang mangyayari, when x is negative 2, and then when x is 0, we solve for u. Okay, so, simulan natin sa 0. Negative 2 pala. So, when x is negative 2, substitute natin dito sa transformation natin 4x cubed minus 1. So, substitute lang natin, it will turn out to be negative 25, and then when x is 0, that will turn out to be negative 1. So, ito, 4x cubed minus 1 ay u. So, pwede natin palitan ng u. And then x squared dx is just 12 over, du over 12 rather. And then, palitan natin itong 0 ng negative 25. Negative 2 by negative. 0 by negative 1 and then negative 2 by negative 1. So, we have this. Okay? So, ganun ulit. Labas muna natin itong constant. And then proceed with integrals. So the similar as like a while ago. Okay. Ilabas ulit natin itong constant. Okay. And then saka tayo mag-substitute. Same process. You simplify this, it will turn out to be this. Okay. Okay, question? Malinaw? Malinaw po ba?
Sir, question po. Sir.
Malinaw naman? May tanong ba? Kung may tanong, wag mahiya po. Yes, Russell, may tanong? Yes,
Sir, bakit po hindi pwede
sige,
yung
go ahead.
0 tsaka negative 2?
Bakit hindi pwede yung 0 at saka negative 2? Kasi ang nangyari dito, nagpalit tayo kasi ng variable. So, ang bagong variable na natin sa integral natin ay u. Okay, so kung u ito, dapat yung ating lower and upper limit must correspond to the same variable. Magiging dapat in terms of u din yung magiging lower and upper limit natin. Kaya kailangan nating palitan din. Pero pwede nyo rin namang hindi muna palitan yung lower and upper limit, pero ang gagawin nyo dyan is i-disregard nyo muna yung lower and upper limit. In other words, kunin nyo muna yung definite integral niya. Yung indefinite integral, yung walang bounds muna. Kaso, pabalik-balik tayo. Pagkatapos natin ibabalik natin sa x, saka lang natin i-substitute yung x. Ganun din naman ang magiging kakalabasan. Okay?
Okay po, thank you po.
May nagtataas ng kamay. Mose, Mr. Miguel, Angelo, may tanong po ba? Nagtataas ka ng kamay?
Kanina pa po
Or
yan,
napindot
sir. Hindi
mo
ko lang
yung-
naalis.
Okay. Sorry.
Pindot ko lang.
Okay. Okay, sige. So let's have one more. Unless you still have question. May tanong pa po ba? May tanong pa po ba guys? Bago tayo mag-proceed sa next example. Puro simple substitution muna tayo. Pero actually, the same lang naman ang mangyayari nito eh. Kasi ang kuha natin dito is to to get the integral first. After getting the integral, saka tayo mag-substitute. Ganun din naman yung kalabasan niya. Okay, so let's have the next example. Are you ready?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, so let's have the next example, this one. Okay. So the same thing, let's proceed with the substitution method ulit. So notice when I get u to be x squared and then I get the derivative. So I need to have x dx again, so I have to solve x dx. And the same thing that we replace your lower and upper limit. So when x is negative 1, we have u is 1, and then when x is 0, u is 0. Okay, so yung u natin ay 0, magiging 0 pa rin. Pero yung negative 1, magiging positive 1. And then ito ay e to the u, right? And then yung x dx, papalitan natin ng du over 2. Okay, so yung x dx naging du over 2, yung x squared naging u, and then yung 0, same thing, yung negative 1 naging positive. Okay? Dumadating pa. Okay, so the same thing, we try to factor out the constant. Okay, and then we can now integrate this easily. E to the u du is just the same as, the integral of v to the u du is e to the u, right? Substituting u equals 0 and then u equals 1, so we have this. Okay, e to the 0 is just 1, and then e to the 1 is 1, so that's it. Okay, or 1 minus e over 2. Okay. Simple lang, di ba? So, ganun lang yung process natin. After performing the integrals, we just have to substitute yung ating lower and upper bounds. So, upper minus lower. And then we simplify. Okay. So, pupasok pa din. Okay. Any question? Malinaw po ba?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Okay. So, I think medyo matagal na rin naman. Haba-haba na rin yung lesson natin, yung examples natin. Okay, so I think I'll just leave you with an assignment later on, guys. Maybe I will post it again in the G and Google Classroom. I'll post an assignment so that you can work with. And then, I think that's it. So basically, ito, diniscuss natin to para later on, pag nag-discuss na tayo ng application, madali na natin magawa yung definite indictment. Okay? So, I want you to practice doing this using the assignment that I will be sending in the Google Classroom. Okay? Malinaw po?
Okay po.
Okay, so unless you still have questions, wala na ba? Meron pa ba? Okay, so I think that's it.